If you want to experience Ireland's real charm, you'll find it in bounds in the countryside, where quaint, tiny towns meet epic landscapes. The Causeway Coastal Route is a drive well worth factoring into your itinerary. A winding coastal stretch of 190 kilometres between Belfast and Londonderry. It crosses two counties and takes in some of the most spectacular scenery in Ireland.
It doesn't seem to matter where you go along the Causeway Coast, you find all these incredible sights and scenes to see, and this is a classic example.
Yeah, of course, this is the dark hedges, and these trees were actually planted in the 18th century as an avenue up to a Georgian house behind us. And 300 years later, Trev, they're still standing. It's quite an imposing driveway.
It is. The house is gone, but these beautiful beech trees remain.
Like so many places in Northern Ireland, it was used in the filming of Game of Thrones. But for hundreds of years before that, it inspired filmmakers, photographers and artists with its naturally eerie twisting branches that conjure up an enchanting fantasy world.
With thousands of visitors flocking here every year, the trees are now protected, with a tree surgeon recently appointed to preserve this unique and ancient archway for decades to come. Not far from the dark hedges is one of Northern Ireland's most iconic sites, Dunluce Castle, perched somewhat precariously on the dramatic North Antrim coast.
Wow, what an incredible location for a castle. This was built in 1500 by the powerful McQuillan family. And Trev, can you only imagine the history that these walls might once have seen?
Yeah, well, I'm sure, but, you know, like the building, the quality of the building here is terrible. The walls have fallen over, the roof's gone. No, look, seriously, I'm really struck every time you come into sort of ruins like this, and when they're so spectacular on the edge of the ocean like this, you sort of get this sense that you want to explore deeper and further. I just wish I had brought like a metal detector and I could go around, because I'm sure just under your feet there, Katie, there's a great big sword that's been hidden there.
Or maybe some gold.
Oh, they're going to hide gold. It'll be over there in the fireplace, just tucked underneath the chimney. Let's have a look.
You never know what treasures you'll discover if you look hard enough. And while the views from the outside are spectacular, you get a real sense of the place from the inside, with access to the castle by bridge from the mainland. Once inside, you can explore the courtyard, towers and living quarters, and imagine what life would have been like in a very different time.
Nowadays, it sits in ruins, but in its heyday, these rooms would have been grand, boasting the finest gold tapestries and art. Dunluce saw its fair share of battles and was taken by force from the McQuillans by the MacDonald family, who still own the castle today. Like all good Irish castles, Dunluce has an amazing story attached to it. You see, this area here was actually the kitchen, and on a stormy night in 1639, there was a banquet on, and all the kitchen staff were busy preparing the meal when suddenly the whole kitchen dropped straight off the side of the cliff and crashed into the ocean, with all of the staff taking the food and just destroying what would have been a perfect evening. Its dramatic location on the edge of, at times, treacherous seas means Dunluce has seen plenty of tragedy and romance.
The young daughter of the original family, Maeve McQuillan, was promised to a man by an arranged marriage, but she refused to go ahead with it. And her father locked her here in the northeast tower for years. Eventually, she escaped and made her way down the cliffs and met her secret lover. But unfortunately, when they headed out to sea, a huge storm came in and sadly she was killed. But she's still said to haunt this tower, sweeping the floors here every night. It might not be the impenetrable fortress it once was, but even in its ruined state, Dunluce has a certain striking beauty and mystery about it. Well, Trev, talk about living life on the edge. You know, this castle, do you know C.S. Lewis, the author?
Yeah.
Of course, Chronicles of Narnia.
I was about to say.
Well, this place actually inspired him to create Cair Paravel, the castle, in those stories.
Well, I can see how it is. You know, you can't help but walk through this and be inspired. It is pretty remarkable. I mean, it's such a shame that it's crumbled away, but when you think of its age, you know, 500-600 years it's been here, it's truly incredible, and a place that you do not want to miss on your journey through this part of Northern Ireland.